Was he willing to talk about the Hafs reading transmission? He wasn't. Was he willing to talk about the Warsh transmission? He wasn't. The only thing he was doing is speak loudly, like what the other guy used to do before. That's all.
كن سعيدا كن فريدا عش بفخر في الحياة لا تبالي فالمعالي بالتحدي لا سواه كن سعيدا كن فريدا.
Let's just cut to the chase. Do you know? Do you know in academic circles what a textual variant is?
But in religious circles, depends on you.
In academic circles, what a textual variant is.
If you talk about textual variant on a point of view of a Christian, how do you? Everyone
I'm asking you the agreed definition of textual variancy amongst academics. What is the definition of a textual variant?
I will bring in Brother Mansur. He's an expert in this field and he will discuss it.
So you don't want to debate?
No, I will not.
You don't want to debate?
Listen. I will not debate on something which I have no knowledge. Right? Does it not make more sense to get someone in who has the knowledge who can answer your questions?
If you want to back out, that's fine.
No, I'm only saying I don't have the knowledge.
No.
So I'm not going to say maybe.
No,
yes,
brother, I respect what you're doing.
Yeah.
I respect what you're doing.
Your question.
So Brother
Mansur, we're talking about the manuscripts, and he's asking that do we have any manuscripts of the Quran? Yeah, to the 1st century of Islam. Is that correct?
If he's backing out and you're picking up the conversation from this point, I'd ask you to carry on from the question that I just asked him. Amongst academics, what is the definition of a textual variant?
No, you started off. That's
No. You've backed out of this conversation now. Okay. This is now between me and him.
Okay, cool.
So, according to academics, what is the definition of a textual variant?
Tell me, see if you agree with it.
No. Don't throw the question back at me. I'm asking you, Mansur, what is the definition?
Say if you have a text.
Your definition of a textual variant.
I just told you. So if you have a text is
if you don't know,
made
it's fine
of.
To say you don't know.
I'm just telling you, if a text is made of letters and words that makes up a sentence or a chapter or a book, whatever that might be, you can have variants within a letter level, within a word level, within a sentence level, within a paragraph level, within a whole book level.
Yeah.
You can have variances in all these types.
And would you agree that a variance is any difference between two texts? Yes. So agreed that that's the definition of textual variance.
No problem with that.
Do you believe that there are textual variants in manuscripts of the Quran?
Yeah, there are available, yeah.
So there are textual variants amongst different Qurans. Are we
When
agreed?
you say different Qurans, explain.
Well, the moment...
Now you're using suddenly a loaded language.
No. A textual variant makes a manuscript different from one to another. If I print a word of text, a letter that I write to you, and then you give me the same letter back, but you change one word.
That's a variant.
We have 2 pages, but they have variants, so they're 2 different texts.
No, same text with textual variants.
Fair enough. So we've got a variance between the manuscripts, haven't we? We got 2 manuscripts.
Let's talk about
with
text.
With a difference.
If a manuscript is about the Quran, we're talking about it's the same Quran with textual variants.
And do you agree that there are textual variants within the manuscripts of the Quran?
They exist, yeah.
They exist. Do those variants, at what level do you think they exist? At the letter level, at the word level, at the paragraph or sentence level?
So let's understand what a variant is.
Wait, we've just done that.
No.
No, we defined variant before we continued.
We haven't defined it. We have just given a working definition because there's a difference between non-Islamic tradition of what a textual variant is and an Islamic tradition. Because we can have a variant which is equally authoritative and accepted as being Quranic text.
Fair enough.
To give you an example, let me give you an example to illustrate my point.
Okay.
So if you have a word called Malik and Malik,
yes, between the Hafs and the Wash text.
They mean 2 different things.
Between the Hafs and the Wash, you're using an example.
Not just Hafs and the Wash, it's the other readings. So you have these 2 different words. They may be written the same in the Uthmanic consonantal skeleton, but the 2 different words. But because these words all come from our traditions of reading all the way back to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we say they are equally authoritative, represented of the Quranic text. So they are from the Quran with different readings. So
Okay.
one could be readings of Hafs from Asim, and other one could be readings of Warsh from Nafi', for example.
So we've established that there are textual variants within the Quran. Now, using the example that you've just given, if I'm right, the word that you used has a slightly different meaning, doesn't it? The
I
two
just
words-
told you they are different.
Yeah, they're different meanings. So what we have, in essence, is a variance of meaning at the word level. Yeah. Is there anything deeper than that? Are there any variances of phrases, sentences?
You tell me.
I'm asking.
No, I want you to tell me.
No, why I ask you a question and you throw it back at me? I'm asking you the question. Don't avoid the question, answer the question.
No, you
if
tell
you don't
me.
know, that's fine.
It's not about I don't know, not do you know?
No. I'm genuinely inquiring. I'm genuinely inquiring.
Genuinely inquiring.
Yeah, genuinely
okay.
inquiring.
So you
That
can
does
have
happen at
you can
Speaker's
have
Corner,
you can have Quranic manuscripts which has totally different phrase.
Yeah.
But if they do not fit within the accepted readings that have been transmitted to us in this authentic chains of transmission, we would say these are not part of the Quranic text.
Fair enough.
These are shawad or shadh readings.
Fair enough. So what we've established from talking to you, Mansur, is that all of these Muslims that for years and years and years have been telling everyone in the world that the Qur'ans are identical across the world, they're wrong. That the Quran has not been changed, not one letter, not one word, not one dot, not one tittle. All of these Muslims that have been saying that, you've just said that they're all wrong because you've just identified that there are differences between different Qurans at the word level. And you gave an example on video.
So you misunderstood.
No. You gave this
Let me
example.
explain to you. So
I'm not deaf and I'm not stupid. This was the example you gave.
I didn't say you're deaf and I didn't say you're stupid. So you are self-inflicting those titles within
Cut to the
yourself.
chase.
Wait
Cut
a
to the
second,
chase.
hang on. First of all, do not somehow insult me by saying that I called you deaf and I called you someone who's stupid. I didn't. I only said you have misunderstood. Misunderstanding can come from even if you're a professor and having 3 PhDs, you can still misunderstand. Just because a professor with 3 PhDs misunderstands, I'm not going to call him deaf or stupid. So you need to speak to me in a way that is polite and acceptable. So do not use language which is really vulgar in the way.
I've not insulted you.
You
I
have.
spoke about myself.
You just have.
Please continue.
Sure. So as I said, I haven't said that you are not any of those. I said you misunderstood. So let me explain. The reading of Hafs. Now I stand here and I will tell you the reading of Hafs that he learned from his teacher Asim, that is learned from his teacher Sulami, that is learned from his teacher and all the way back to the companions Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, Ubay ibn Ka'ab, Uthman bin Affan radiallahu anhum ajma'in, all and back to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This reading has not been changed to the letter, to the dot, to the word level, to the sentence level, and so on and so forth. So when the Muslims claim that, they do claim it exactly. So if we now examine the reading of Hafs, go around anywhere in the world, whether in the Indian subcontinent area or in the East, in Philippines or Indonesia, or go to Africa and Morocco, get the reading of Hafs and trace the transmission of the reading of Hafs. And now you tell me, where has the change that has occurred in the reading of Hafs?
So there's 2 points that I would take from that. Firstly, you've narrowed your defense of the Quran solely to one reading, and by implication that seems to be that you've abandoned the other readings as being pure texts, which implies therefore that readings such as Wash are a corruption of the Hafs text. The second point that I gain from what you've said is that you're saying to me that there has been no variations at any time in history to the Hafs traditional manuscript. So the tradition of the manuscript evidence connected to the Hafs reading has remained pure. Now, I don't want to put words in your mouth. Is that what you're saying? Is that what you're saying?
So all the 2 points that you made needs a slight correction. Why? Because you again misunderstand, whether willingly and deliberately, which I don't know, which I would not assume. I would assume genuinely you misunderstand. I am not implying in any way, shape or form that the other reading, Warsh or Susi or Duri or any other readings are by implication corruption, which you misunderstand in somehow. I am saying when Muslims claim of the transmission of the Quran and Quranic readings, and they haven't changed, you can break them down to the readings that they're talking about. So I gave you an example of one reading called Hafs from his teacher Asim. You can do this likewise through Warsh and all the other 10 mutawatir readings. And the claim would still be that yes, this reading has been transmitted likewise in this meticulous nature of preservation. This is how they're preserved. So I gave an example of a Hafs reading because I can talk about it because I've looked into it. If you want to talk about it, we can go as much detail as you want in the Hafs reading. So because you seem to know something about it already in your, the vocabulary that you're using, I would expect you to continue talking about the Hafs reading and point to me the differences that you so think exist. If you want to talk about the other readings individually, we can talk about them as well. But as I said, I am only limited to in the readings that I examined. Like the brother said, he cannot talk because he's not proficient or knowledgeable on the subject. Secondly, the other point. What was the point that he mentioned? Second point?
About manuscripts from the 1st century.
Manuscripts. Now, Hafs reading, you are again conflating. The reading, oh, can we find traces within the manuscripts? No. The reading is
Did
taught.
you say no?
I am explaining.
No, I want to interject just to clarify something. Are you saying that the security of the Hafs reading is not in the text?
I am saying this reading is transmitted from teacher to student, teachers to student, and goes like this through memorization. So the text.
To be clear, Mansur, to be clear, I really want to be clear on this. Are you saying that the security,
What do you mean security?
the reliability, the purity of the reading is not secured in the text? That it is secured purely by oral recitation?
Okay, so I'm not sure why you're using the word security and reliability. I am saying no.
You feel more comfortable.
I am saying the transmission of the Quran is by this. So you memorize the Quran and you tell the whole of the Quran or repeat the whole of the Quran back to your teacher. Your teacher is satisfied and the teacher gives you the ijazah or permission or a certificate that you continue this teaching. This can be independent of a text because you can be a blind person and you can still have an ijazah without even reading anything. Braille is a recent concept, recent tool that people use in a written form. But the Quran has been transmitted even through perhaps blind people. It doesn't have to be through a text. So when we're talking about the transmission of the Quran, the primary mode of transmission and preservation is the memorization way, the oral form, the recited form.
Okay.
So in this way, let me finish my point.
No,
in
I
this
think
way,
I gathered your
no,
point.
you haven't. Let me finish my
you
point.
spoke for quite a while.
It's not about speaking for a while. I need to make my point.
I think you've spoken for quite a while.
So you understood what I said?
I believe so, yes.
Good.
You're saying that the recitation is an oral transmission from one reciter, I think they're called muhaz, or what's the Arabic term for someone who memorizes the Quran? Is it hafiz?
Hafiz.
Hafiz. So it's from one hafiz who teaches a student to become another hafiz and so on and so forth down through the generations. And that's the security of the text, it's the security of the recitation. The reason why I have a problem with this, Mansur, is because if that was the primary reason by which the Quran was secured in its transmission from one generation to the next, the actions of Uthman in the first centuries of Islam and of the companions, the Sahaba, seem to indicate to me that they did not have confidence in the oral transmission as being secure. Because when the Muslims were in dispute about how best to recite the Quran, their solution to the problem was not to form some school where one memorizer taught lots of other people to memorize and so on and so forth. Their response to securing the continuity of the Quran and to make sure Muslims did not disagree amongst themselves was to create an edited text, a formal version, an authorized version backed by the Islamic State. That tells me that actually the early Muslim community did not share your confidence. The early Muslim community thought it necessary to secure the recitation of the Quran in manuscripts. And if that's the case, which I believe the evidence points to fairly, when we read the hadith, Sahih al-Bukhari, Sahih al-Muslim, what that seems to point to me is that we need to look at the text of the Quran, because it's the text of the Quran that helps people to learn the recitation. I suspect that every Muslim here, when they are reciting the Quran, they're not just hearing it and repeating it. They may be hearing it and reading it and repeating it, and that's the process of memorization. And if that is true, then that means the text is integral to the security of the recitation. And if that is true, we need to analyze the manuscript evidence to see if the manuscripts are consistent, to see if the Quran has or has not been subject to change. Would you agree that that is a fair and logical conclusion from the evidence?
Okay, let's have a look. When you have the dispute in Azerbaijan, when the Muslims were disputing in their recitations, what was the nature of the dispute?
About the recitation, how to
What
recite
was
it.
the nature of the dispute?
I don't know exactly.
No,
The
no,
hadiths
you
don't
made-
seem to
no, no,
say. No,
no,
hold
no.
on one second. The hadiths
Wait.
do not say precisely what the dispute was about, only that they disputed about how the Quran should be recited. That was the dispute. That's what I see in the hadiths.
No.
Anything you say further to that, you'll have to give evidence.
No. So you made an assertion, all of this logical deduction based on something that the actual core issue that was in dispute, you don't even know. What were the Muslims saying to each other?
Where are you getting your sources?
From the same source.
Sahih al-Bukhari, right?
What does it say?
It doesn't say exactly what they were disputing.
What does it say?
It says they were disputing the recitation. They were disputing about how the Quran should be said.
No.
Then you tell me,
No,
please.
no.
Can we pull it up? I don't know if you've got
You
on
pull it
here.
up. You made a
Mansur,
claim, pull it up.
Mansur, you're here every week.
And excuse
You're
me.
here every
Listen,
week.
listen.
Where
You
is
made a
your
claim.
evidence?
You made a claim. I'm saying no. So you need to now prove that this is what the text and the hadith say. You just made a claim. This is what it says, and based on that,
Yeah,
excuse me.
I agree.
I
It's a double
will, I
standard.
will.
I have to prove my point. He doesn't have to prove his. It's a double standard.
No, I didn't say I don't have to prove my point. I'm saying you made a claim.
And if I am
Substantiate it.
wrong, prove me wrong.
You substantiate your claim.
If I am wrong, prove me wrong. I've made a claim.
One second,
Now
one
give me the counter proof.
You made a claim. Prove it from the evidence.
Okay, so
ahead.
I haven't got it on me. I don't mind
Do it.
admitting that. I'm here as a tourist. You're here as a missionary. So let's be clear.
Oh, you're not a
I'm here
missionary.
as a tourist. You're here as a missionary. You're here as a missionary. Okay?
You're the missionary.
Mansur, you're on this television. You're on YouTube all the time being here. I'm here as a tourist. You're the one here every week. You're saying that my claim is wrong. I'm asking you to prove me wrong. So give me your evidence.
No.
Don't create a double standard
Look,
where
look,
I have
look,
to
look.
prove all my
Now,
points and you don't have to prove any of yours.
Talking about double standards, look at the excuses that we hear. It's astonishing. One second, let me finish. Astonishing. You come along here making a big thing out of some issue which you haven't got a real grasp of. So you made into, the reason why it happened. Your actual reading.
Mansur, just admit you don't have the evidence.
Let me finish. Look at the way they work.
The way they work. Oh my gosh.
Excuse me.
Have you listened to this, man?
Yeah. Look at the
Listen to
way
them, man.
tourists
Look
speak.
at the way they work.
Excuse me. Let me
Who are
finish.
you talking to?
Let me finish.
Dude, I'm right here in front of
No,
you.
as a-
Not they work. I'm right here. Speak to me.
As a tourist,
Speak to me.
the way you
They work.
what's
Who are
your-
you talking about? Who are they?
What's your name?
No, who are they, Mansur?
You.
They. So I'm a plural now.
Yeah. Who are you?
I'm a plural.
What's your name?
Do you understand plurality and singularity? I'm sure you do. You talk about it all the time.
Yeah, what's your
so
name?
who are they
I'll
you're
tell you,
talking
I'll
about? Your subtle attempt at demonization just now.
Excuse me, what's your name?
I'm sure it's okay.
What's
he
your
will
name?
edit it out of his video.
Here
He
and
will,
here.
He
They.
will, he will edit
They.
it out of his
Thank
video.
you.
You're included now because
Yes.
you dared to speak.
Excuse me.
You dared to speak.
No, relax.
He'll edit it out of his video.
Was
don't
she not
worry.
clapping-
Anything that embarrasses him
when you made that
goes out of
voice?
his video. Goes
So
out of
now
his video.
they.
Anything. They.
Excuse me.
But
Listen.
now it's a they. Me and the sister have never even met.
Do you see that? Oh, it's going to be edited out. Look at this filthy thinking.
Demonization again.
Hang on.
Mansur, just admit you don't have the evidence.
Excuse me.
Just admit you don't have the evidence.
Wait a second.
He's
One
been
second.
talking now for 5 minutes.
Okay.
I asked him
Another
to prove
strategy.
me wrong with the evidence.
Okay, now.
And he's not giving me any evidence.
Okay.
You know what that's called? That's
What's
called waffling.
Okay.
It's called waffling around the subject.
The one you're doing
You
that.
do it in interviews all the time. When you don't know the answer,
Brother,
you
one
just
second.
talk.
Relax,
and
relax.
and hope that they
Okay.
forget the question.
Okay. What's your name?
What's the evidence, please?
I'm going to give. What's your name?
What's the evidence,
I am
please?
about
You don't
to.
need to know my name. What's the evidence,
I do need to know
please?
my name.
No, you don't need
I
to
need
know
to
my
know
name.
your name. I do.
No, you don't.
His name is Bob.
Yeah, call Bob. Bob. My name's Bob. Bob the Builder. Bob the Builder. That's it. My name's Bob the Builder,
wait.
everybody. Pleased to
Okay,
meet
one
you.
second.
So I should give you a name.
I
Okay.
can fix it, I promise.
Should I give you another name?
What's your name?
So go on. Where's your evidence, please?
I am about to give it to you,
I am
dear.
waiting.
What is your name?
My name's irrelevant.
Irrelevant. I call him irrelevant.
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
Okay. Now, irrelevant made a claim that, the text is integrity to the security of the readings. This is in a one-sentence summary. And the way he arrived at this conclusion is by looking at reading Sahih Bukhari, and Sahih Bukhari apparently says Muslims didn't know how to recite the text.
That's not what I said.
What did you say?
That's not what I said.
What did you say? What did you say?
Mansur, if
No,
you're
no,
going
correct.
to summarize my argument,
Yeah, tell me what you said.
it is an onus upon you to do it accurately.
Yeah, what did you say?
I was responding to your claim that the recitation of the Quran was secured in an oral tradition. And the way that I responded to that was to point out that in the 1st century of Islam, the early Muslims didn't seem to share your confidence. Because in the 1st century of Islam, when the Muslims in Azerbaijan, who were about to invade Christian Armenia, disputed amongst themselves the recitation, the response of the Islamic establishment, the Caliphate, was not to create a school where one oral teacher would teach lots of students to memorize the Quran orally, but to create a text. And if that was their response to the danger of disputes amongst the Muslims about the recitation of the Quran, that suggests to me, quite logically, that actually the security of the text is not just in an oral tradition, but also in the manuscript evidence. And I furthered that by pointing out that all of you who are reciting the Quran, whether you can understand it or not, and I suspect a large proportion of you can't, that the vast majority of you are not just hearing it and repeating it, but you're hearing it, reading it, and repeating it, which means that the text is an essential part of the means of transmission. That was my argument.
Okay, so now as you realize, he's made it quite clear what he means. So I asked, what was the nature of the dispute between the Muslims in Azerbaijan? What was the nature of the dispute? What were they saying to each other?
And I've already said that the hadith, Sahih al-Bukhari, does not say precisely what the dispute was.
What does it say?
It says that they disputed about the recitation, about how it should be recited.
Okay, so this statement that they disputed about how it should be recited, is this in the hadith?
From what I read, yes.
Okay, can you show it to me?
I don't have it on me, no.
Okay, open up, Google it.
I've
You
just
made the
said I
claim.
don't have it on me. Now, okay, now hold on. This is the double standard. This is the double standard Mansur is working.
No, it's not
to.
double standard. Okay,
I
let
want
me
him now.
no,
I want him now.
Let me
This
respond.
is where the editing
Hang
will
on.
happen on the video, ladies and gentlemen.
Let me respond. Let me
Give me the
respond.
hadith.
Let me
Show
respond.
me.
Let
Show
me
me.
respond. You see, the ingenuity of this irrelevant person, because that's what his name
Now
is.
he's abusing me.
No, I'm not.
Did you remember earlier in the conversation how he was saying I should speak to him respectfully?
You know what?
And now he's calling me an irrelevant person. Why do you abuse people, Mansur?
Excuse
Just
me.
stick to the argument.
Listen. My brother,
stick to the argument.
What? Brother, one moment.
Just stick to
I
the
didn't say irrelevant as an irrelevant person.
What did he say?
Listen.
She heard you. Thank you.
Listen.
You said irrelevant
This
person.
is.
Thank you very much.
Akhi.
Be brave, Mansur, and be honest.
Now, do you
Be
see,
honest with yourself.
Do you see the problem? It's called a comprehension problem. Did I not ask what his name was?
Yeah. I know.
And
I
what
know.
you refused to answer? And he said
No.
irrelevant.
I said I didn't have the evidence on me.
Excuse me.
I admitted that openly. I admitted that.
Brothers, please.
I openly admitted that.
Please.
I'm
Brothers.
often confused why the Muslims who come
Okay.
to Speaker's Corner
Thank you.
think that the best way to win an argument is by
Excuse me.
twisting words.
I'm talking
and
now.
twisting
I'm talking.
facts.
Listen. So I asked him his name. He says irrelevant. So I said I will call you irrelevant.
No, I said the name was irrelevant. I didn't call
That's
myself
why.
irrelevant.
That's why
That's what you just called me.
Yes. Then I
That's
said.
what you just called me.
Then I said I will call you irrelevant, didn't I?
And
I
then you
did.
said, this irrelevant person.
Excuse me. Let me
Continue.
finish.
Anyway,
so
now we've got past that.
Let me finish.
Let's get to the hadith,
No.
Mansur. Stop waffling in
Listen.
the top interview.
You know what?
And come to the
The
evidence.
problem with people like yourself,
People like myself.
yes, is
Oh, dear.
you
Oh,
are
dear.
not
Listen to them, man.
willing
I'm
to
so
hear
sorry.
the
I'm so
response.
sorry.
You are so
pedestal
afraid.
that you
Look,
set
look.
yourself upon is too
So
high for me
afraid.
to reach.
Listen, you're so
I'm still
afraid.
waiting for you to give me the evidence from the hadith.
Oh,
In a
okay.
job interview, we call this waffling. I interview lots of people to employ them in my line of work. When someone does this in a job interview, it's because they don't know the answer.
Are you finished?
So I'll ask you again.
Okay.
Show me in the hadith, since I don't have it with me, I'm here as a tourist, you're here as a missionary. Show me in the hadith what they actually were disputing about.
Okay, are you finished?
So we can talk about it.
Are you finished?
Please.
Good. So he's not going to talk while I'm talking because he knows even in a job interview that would be a rude manager, rude employer. So now, as a good employer, let me finish what I have to say. So as I was saying, an irrelevant person, because that's what his name is. So I said this irrelevant person.
There we
right?
go again.
Is
There
it
we go again.
interesting?
Why is it you just can't have the integrity of heart
Look at that.
to admit that you insulted me? Why can't you just have the integrity of heart, Mansur? Why? No, hold on. This is a serious question.
I cannot speak to
Why
someone
is your
who has
pride
a mouth
such
problem. Who
that you
cannot
have
stop
to win
talking.
every single point,
Excuse me, listen.
even to the point that you can't admit that you just insulted me? I'm not actually that fazed by it.
Listen.
I just want you to cut
Listen.
to the chase.
Listen.
Come up with the
Okay.
hadith.
5
Please.
minutes. Okay, 5 minutes each.
No. I just want you to.
Because every time you speak, you keep on talking
Because you
like a
keep
broken
talking
tape
about
recorder.
how you talk. He's not getting to the point.
No.
Come to the hadith.
5 minutes each.
Come to the hadith.
5 minutes each.
I'm not here to debate with you like
No,
that.
no,
Just
no.
come to the hadith.
Because I know from
Just
now,
come to the hadith.
brothers, what we've established is this.
Okay,
Brothers,
guys, I'm going to ask him one last
No,
time.
no, I'm
and if
talking.
he doesn't come to the evidence,
He's gonna run away.
I'm going to walk
He's gonna run away.
So, Mansur.
He's gonna run away.
Mansur, cutting away all the crap, all the waffle,
He's gonna run away.
all the
He knows
rubbish,
he's
all the
afraid
rubbish.
to hear the response.
Just bring me the hadith so we can talk about
Listen.
it. That's what I'm asking you to do now. Do it in the next few minutes, or I'm just going to go and listen
No,
to
no.
someone who's more interesting.
Go ahead,
Because
go
right
ahead.
now I'm losing interest.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'll take that as your
See you later.
concession. Have a
No,
good day.
not concession.
Take
Good
care.
day.
Take
So
care.
now
Bye-bye.
we're going to talk
Take
to
care.
everyone else.
Bye-bye.
Now, what is this?
Bye-bye.
So as we realize,
We didn't know each other.
brothers,
We were living together.
that doesn't matter. So as we realize, we have people here with such insincerity, such hatred and bigotry, this is what they behave. So as I was trying to speak and explain, he won't let me explain it. So when I asked him, where did you get this from? Because he made a claim, Bukhari said this. He should have opened up and said Bukhari said this. He would not do that. Instead, he's shifting the burden of evidence on me. I didn't make that claim. But okay, regardless, as I said, I was going to say, this irrelevant person means what? That's his name. Said this, but I am going to show you what Sahih Bukhari indeed said. So let me go to this.
They said they don't know each other, but they walking away together.
Come on. These people lies.
No, wait, I'm listening to him.
Okay. This is what the hadith is, just to show you, and then we can make a conclusion.
Well, come. Shall I call it back?
That talks about this issue.
No, you are to blame now.
Is it arguing over there?
This is the level of, what can I say? Their intellectual integrity. Here. Okay. Let me go to the exact hadith so we know what we're talking about.
You keep saying over there the Quran being changed.
It's not really, you know why he didn't agree with 5 minutes? Because he knows I'll be making my point in my 5 minutes. He doesn't want that to happen. Okay, I'm just going to the relevant chapters. Translation, Quran.
Come on, 5 minutes.
Compilation. Yeah.
Because they were saying my recitation is better
5
than
minutes.
Yes, of course. Here, the meaning of Ahruf, page
Not in the
172.
meaning, it's in the recitation. It's not in the meaning itself. He's saying,
Brother, we know. So let me tell you what this reading is. So once we clarify that point, and that's it, we'll establish these people.
It's not in the meaning, it's in the recitation. Like I read Hafiz, he say, my qira'ah is better than Kisai. Yes.
You mean tajweed?
That was the disputing.
No, we want to establish what was the dispute.
The Quran.
Yeah, but what he mean?
It's not about that we didn't know how to read. It's about they were saying my recitation is better than yours.
Yes.
My recitation is better than
Look at
yours.
the text.
Now, does that mean I don't know how to recite? Look at this deception. So let me. Here.
To be honest, for me, it's silly point, but
I listen to Qur'an sometimes in the house. I enjoy it all. It's a meaning.
yes.
والضحى والليل
Yeah,
إذا
of course, I
سجى
mean,
ما
I
ودعك
like to listen
ربك
to-
وما قلى. أمشي والضحى والليل إذا سجى.
For it has been reached me that each party is claiming their recitation is better, and this might lead to disbelief. This is what the hadith text says. Ali bin Abi Talib said concerning this incident, "O people, do not say evil of Uthman, but only say good about him. Concerning the burning of the Mus'haf, I swear by Allah, he only did this after he had called all of us. He asked us, what do you think should be done concerning these recitations? For it has reached me that each party is claiming that their recitation is better, and this might lead to disbelief." So was it about I don't know how to recite? No. Absolute blatant lie against our text. So how can we continue on talking to someone like this, who knows his game will be up? So anyway, I don't think this is any benefit talking to someone like this. It would be interesting to continue with him, but he had to run away.
he thinks he's blaming you.
Okay, here is the text.
So,
What do you suggest we do? Okay, he says, for it has been reached me that each party is claiming that the recitation is better. That's what I was saying. Each party claiming my recitation is better.
What?
You claim that they didn't know how to recite.
Mansur.
What a lie you
Mansur,
just made.
One second. You're the one who's lying.
You lie.
You're the one. I'm sorry. You either don't have a grasp of the English language,
Oh, no, I don't speak English.
or you are deliberately trying to distort what is being communicated. When you say something is better than something else, for instance, we have two arguments, two positions. Mansur believes his position is better than my position. Why? Because it is different. Because there is something intrinsically superior to the way that he is arguing, to the way that I am arguing. So if two people are arguing that one recitation, which is exactly what I said at the beginning,
What did you say?
is better than another recitation.
What did you say?
Hold on one second. Is better.
don't
then
worry, he's
that
only allowed
means that
tourists.
there is a difference between the two recitations. Because if two things are the same, one can't be better than the other. That's logical.
Brother, 1 second.
Mansur is a poor student of logic.
Now, in your logic, you claimed earlier on the
Deal
Muslims.
with my point.
I am about to. Are you deaf? As you said earlier, you're
No,
not
he's
deaf.
insulting me.
No.
First he calls me an irrelevant
No.
person.
Remember what he said.
Didn't you say at the beginning that you didn't call me deaf? Now he calls me deaf.
No, you said
Continue, please.
you said you aren't
Continue,
deaf.
Mansur.
Okay. So he's going to act like a gentleman and not interrupt while I'm speaking. Thank you. So
You
earlier
interrupted
on,
me. No, man. Carry on.
earlier on, you claimed that the Muslims didn't know how to recite the Quran.
I did not make that claim. That is a
It's on
lie.
the tape.
Yes, it's on the tape. It's on the tape. I didn't claim that.
You
I
just
said,
did.
No, what I said, I'll correct you. I said they were in dispute about the recitation of the Quran. That's what I said.
No, you lied.
Well, we'll look
You
it
know
up.
what?
We'll look it up on your edited YouTube video later. We'll look it up on your edited YouTube
You know what? All the people who are listening, he claimed that they did not know how to recite. That's
No,
the claim you
I
made.
said-
And now you are lying in front of
I
everyone
said
else.
that they disputed the recitation. Obviously, if two people are in
Okay.
dispute,
Can you,
each of them
one of you
have a way
pause
of
and
reciting.
show it back to him
It's
what
a
he just
different
said?
thing.
He has a bad memory as well, isn't he?
So I'm deaf, irrelevant, I got a bad memory. You're throwing out the insults, Mansur.
No.
Please, come on.
Look, I call a spade a spade. It's not an insult.
I've just, no one. Which one, please?
So now, brother,
Exactly. You're
Brother.
making a claim, you've got no evidence.
What did he say? What's the issue that he used?
So, Mansur,
so earlier on you said they did not know how to recite.
I did not say that. Yes, you did. I said, no. I said they were.
Posted of logic. Yes, you
Look,
did.
look.
I'm confident.
In
How can you
terms,
speak to a liar like that?
okay, listen, Mansur, a man who edits his
No,
videos
how-
as heavily as you do,
Excuse me?
should not accuse anyone of lying.
I edit my
You
video.
should not accuse anyone of lying.
Which is my channel.
You should not accuse
One
anyone of
moment.
lying.
Which is my channel that I edit my videos?
Okay, so,
No.
one second.
You made a claim again, a lying claim again. Which is my channel that I edit my videos?
I don't know the name. I'm assuming these guys are working with you.
No, they're not.
Then I owe you an apology. I
Well, thank you,
apologize. I'm
accepted.
sorry.
Now to carry on then. So now we realize Muslims were not disputing that they didn't know how to recite. They were saying my recitation is better than yours. So when, for example, one recites Maliki Yawmiddin and the other recites Maliki Yawmiddin, they're saying mine is a better recitation. I prefer that. He's saying no. In fact, they're at a point where they might be trying to impose on each other which recitation you should follow. So this is not about saying your recitation is not part of the Quran or your recitation is not the part of the Quran. This was not the nature of the dispute.
Hold on 1 second.
You just made claims up. This is what we call the ingenuity in lies, tricks and deception.
I'm sorry, one
so
second.
now,
One
so
second.
now,
You've accused
when
him
we,
of lies,
when we,
ingenuity and deception.
when we
The evidence
read,
that he read
I'm not finished.
did not give his example.
I'm not finished.
He's reading into the text
Excuse me.
something that is not there.
I haven't
The text
finished.
that he read only said
I haven't finished.
that they disputed about which recitation was better. It did not clarify the terms upon which they said the recitation was better.
Do you know the nature of
So
this
please,
missionary tourists?
Evidence, please.
They will not let you finish your point.
Evidence, please.
So now as you
Evidence,
realize,
please.
as we go back, so now we establish.
Okay, you carry on with your sermon, Mansur. Take care. I've asked him for evidence. He doesn't produce his evidence. You gave an example. You gave an example. You have no evidence to back it up.
You're just open mouth, isn't it? A loud mouth. That's what
I'm
you are.
challenging you now.
On what?
Challenging you
On
now.
what?
When we defined the dispute as to which recitation was better, because that's in the hadith, you then tried to clarify it simply using your example. So now I want you to give me evidence that your example is an accurate qualification of the statement that they disputed which recitation was better.
Listen, when they make very clear, they were saying my recitation is better. This means what? Each one has a recitation which they think mine is better than yours in the way I recite. We know they recited as they were taught by the companions
We
of the
know.
Prophet.
Where's your evidence?
You're interrupting rudely again.
Evidence.
You learn to behave in a civilized way, then we can
I'm
talk.
asking you for evidence. That's a very civilized thing to do.
Listen, when I finish. That's why I'm saying to speak to
Come and find me when you've got
Mr.
the evidence,
Irrelevant,
and we'll
Mr. Irrelevant, let's have 5 minutes each so that you have no chance to rudely interrupt.
No. I'm
You
asking
don't stick
I'm
to
not,
that.
I'm not here to debate by your rules. I'm asking you for evidence that your qualification, which I believe is totally unsubstantiated, without any backing evidence at all, that your qualification of the words they disputed about which recitation is better.
That's what the text says.
Yeah, that doesn't evidence, I'm sorry, Mansur.
Evidence
It doesn't evidence the example that you gave to qualify the statement. Do you understand about qualifying statements?
Yeah, let me give you an
Okay,
example.
so give me evidence that your example is the correct qualification of the statement.
Sure. So what I'm saying is, because this hadith doesn't talk about anything else which you try to infer, look, he tries to infer everything else. I am saying, reading the text itself, it tells you that they're reciting in a way and they're saying my recitation is better than us.
Show me.
What we know is this, the recitation that was available to them are the recitation that the Prophet ﷺ taught the companions and the companions taught them. So you have Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, you have many other companions, yes, radiallahu anhum ajma'in, they were reciting, and we know that their recitation had differences within their readings, as the Prophet ﷺ taught them. Why? Because this is to facilitate easy reading and memorization. Because there are many linguistic Arab tribes which found difficult to pronounce or to read or to utter. Many ways of reading certain words or phrases or letters. So the flexibility was given from Allah to read the Quran in this several ahruf from which the qira'at, the authentic qira'at that we have, came. So they were reciting like this, and because you have in Azerbaijan a meeting place of new Muslims who haven't had the learning yet about the etiquettes of how to engage with each other in differences, they were saying, no, mine, I learned it this way, mine is better. And he says, I learned it that way, my recitation is better. They were not saying, your recitation is not Quran, and my recitation is only Quran. You somehow try to concoct that meaning.
Okay, I've listened to you very
I
patiently,
haven't finished. I haven't
Mansur.
finished
No,
yet.
I've listened to you very patiently.
Have a bit more patience. No, have a bit more patience. So when the people
evidence that your
have a bit more
qualification
patience.
of the statement
So when
that
the
my recitation is better than your
Muslim army
recitation
were
is
reading
the correct
in
qualification.
Azerbaijan,
Show me
what was
from the
happening is
manuscripts
this.
that is
Because
the
there
correct
were new
qualification
Muslims.
of the statement.
Why are you talking while I'm
You
talking?
have not done that. I've waited quite patiently. You've been talking and waffling again. I'll wait for you to find it. Come and get
Find
me when
what?
you have.
Find what?
And then we'll. And then
I
we'll
just
talk
told
about
you.
it.
To
No,
the-
you haven't. You haven't. What we see is Uthman's response to this dispute amongst the Muslims, and the way that he responded was to standardize
Brother,
the
patience.
text. By standardizing the text, this implies that the disagreements were more than simply pronunciation,
Who's talking about
were
pronunciation?
more than simply dialect, that it seems to suggest that there were greater differences, and that is supported by the fact that within the Islamic manuscript tradition, you have variations between the different manuscripts.
Like, give examples.
Well, you gave me an example.
You give examples now.
I'm
Subject to your
just going to
claim.
give you the example
Go
that
ahead.
you gave me.
Yeah.
Forgive me if my Arabic pronunciation is bad. I'm not claiming to speak Arabic. But you gave me an example of the difference between hafs and wash, between the word, I think you used kalam and kalem. I'm not claiming to be an Arabic speaker. I'll just ask you
No,
to
you're
repeat
claiming to
your
someone
example.
to have a bad memory.
No, again, Mansur, you're
I didn't use
subtle-
kalam and kalam. I didn't
your
use that.
subtle attempts at ad hominem. You
No,
know
I
the
did not
example
say
you gave
kalam.
earlier.
What example did I give you?
I'm sure you'll edit it out of your
No,
video.
what example did I
Because
give?
you've admitted that there are textual variants
No,
in the
what
Quran.
example did I
And
provide?
have disproved,
He's forgotten it already.
30 years, 40 years of Islamic argument that every single Quran, everywhere in the entire world, is identical, dot for dot, word for word, letter for letter. And here you are on Speaker's Corner admitting that that's not the case. That actually the Qurans are different. That there are textual variants in words and in letters.
Patience.
So, using the example that you gave,
Which was?
the one between hafs and wash,
Which was?
between the word, I'm not claiming to be an Arabic speaker.
No, which was?
Kalam and kalem.
No, you've forgotten already.
Yeah, I did.
You
but
did.
you did give
So
one.
you have a very bad memory.
Well,
You've
gee
forgotten the
whiz.
only one
So
example that
what?
I gave.
I mean, Mansur seems to think that attacking me as a person is equivalent to winning an
No.
argument. That's not the same thing. A logical argument is won by the evidence you marshal and the logic by which you marshal it, not attacking your debating opponent. And you seem to confuse those
You
two
make
things.
up claims which cannot substantiate by
There
the
we go,
text.
ad hominem.
I just proved to you by reading the hadith itself. You made a
hold
claim.
Hold on, for those of you that weren't here, he read the hadith, and the hadith did not prove his point.
Of course he did.
It did not prove his point.
Are you stupid?
He gave a
No,
qualification
don't call him stupid, he's
to
not.
what he read. He gave an exegesis to the text that is not claimed from the text itself.
Come on.
That is not the same thing.
What we have
as
is someone
evidence
just
argument.
loud speech, no substance.
Yeah, exactly.
So now,
No substance.
okay.
Donald Trump.
So,
Well-
brother, my turn to speak now. So as we,
I gotta go. I
No,
gotta
no,
go.
Stay here.
I got
Stay
from
here.
this what I wanted to get.
I stay-
I'm
stay.
happy with what you said. Thank you very
No,
much.
stay here.
Have a great time, Mansur.
Stay here, stay
Enjoy
here.
your missionary
No,
work.
no,
You did
stay
a
here.
fine job.
Stay here.
And
I
great.
refute you.
Congratulations to the editorial team. I love the way you edit your videos. Fantastic, guys.
He's, you know what? He's accusing all of you that are recording with intellectual disintegrity. Can you believe that? These people, and now he's on camera, right? You can find him who he is. Whether he's a Christian missionary, whether he's a secularist or an atheist. No, he's not a tourist. I've seen him before. I've seen him before. No, I've seen him before. So what he's done is this. He comes along, makes up a false claim, and when the text is examined, he knows his game is up because I've read this text. And then he now lies about it. He made a claim that, in your Islamic tradition, the Muslims, they deferred, they didn't know how to recite the text. I said, no, this isn't what the text says. So I opened up the text, and the text says, they said my recitation is better than yours. This has nothing to do with whether they know how to recite it or not. So he denies that, even though this is on tape. So those of you who are listening and will be watching these YouTube videos, go back and listen, or carefully listen to those sections, that's what he said. And then he's claiming that all of these things, he can't even remember the example that I gave. Such an example of a bad memory, which I earlier on was trying to say. These people need to come clean intellectually, be a man of integrity. So when we Muslims claim the Quran has remained unchanged, I gave you an example, gave all of you an example of a particular reading that has been transmitted from the Prophet of Islam all the way to us. It has been meticulously preserved even to this level, hasn't changed. And I said, look, I can talk as much depth as you want on this because you're using the words, vocabularies that somehow suggest you've gone and learned something about it. Was he willing to talk about the Hafs reading transmission? He wasn't. Was he willing to talk about the Warsh transmission? He wasn't. The only thing he was doing is speak loudly like what the other guy used to do before. That's all. Speak loud as if you make a claim and you substantiate it. No, you can't. You have to bring substance. So what Uthman radiallahu anhu did, he unified them under a text, bilisan in Quraysh, with the Qurayshi lisan, where they had differences into how to write it, so that this can then be worked to use to recite the Quran in the readings that have been taught. And we know he allowed to write the masahif without any diacritical points to differentiate between the letters and without any vowels. That means it can accommodate as many ahruf as possible. That means it can accommodate as many qira'ah that has been transmitted to us as possible. That is why he made this project with the consensus of whole of the Muslim community, so that we have this one standard text where everyone can read and say that's it, rather than saying, my recitation is better than yours, because now this recitation will come from there and you will learn to know that recitation is acceptable. So I don't know why he's unwilling to continue the discussion. It's very sad, isn't it? It would be nice to go and find out the very roots of why they have a problem with this, and then talk about their manuscript tradition, whether they have any indeed to back up from the earlier times, like we do. We have manuscripts going back very early, carbon dated even manuscripts of Quran. But this is a discussion for another time and another day. May Allah guide us all.